I'm going to talk to you for a bit about what we do at the BBC, how we do things, the issues that we faced, particularly around the whole idea of social media and what that means, what we think that's going to mean to the way we're going to operate at the BBC. A lot of our journalists, as we talk about social media and how we interact with the audience on the web, see it as a shortcut to getting, good stories or good contacts. It's completely the wrong approach. You've got to think about the whole arena, think about the ocean in which you're swimming, rather than it just being a shortcut for getting cheap and cheerful and easy content. Otherwise, not only will you make mistakes in that content, you will make a lot of enemies out there in social media land, and they won't thank you for it, and you'll do damage to your news operation and do damage to your yourself as a journalist as well. This image sums it all up. This is the starting point of it all. It's of the bombings in July. It's an iconic image. It was on the front page of magazines all around the world. The guy who took that picture sent it in to us because we gave him a means and a mechanism to do that. We didn't pay him for it. He did it because he had taken part in an extraordinary event and he wanted to share a story. That's where it all started. And this is kind of where we are now. Tehran this summer. I don't know if you can read that. It's ban international media. You can't ban our cell phones and cameras. Each and every one of us will be reporting. Vast armies of people around the world have got the means and the power to tell their own story.
With the regime doing its best to shut out BBC journalists, the internet became a kind of underground railroad for the information age. The stories it told of ordinary Burmese lives struggling in the face of repression filled an information vacuum. From the streets of Burma, the citizen journalists were writing an alternative narrative to official propaganda.
It was primarily driven because of necessity, because we had no people on the ground themselves, from the BBC. We were very reliant on actually getting people within Burma, ordinary people within Burma, telling us their stories, sending us their pictures and video.
We found Rob via the pictures he emailed. We then asked him to send in a voice piece, which he emailed using an MP3 file, becoming effectively the first citizen journalist to file for BBC Radio.
The idea came came after the tsunami in December 2004, when we were quite literally flooded by thousands and thousands and thousands of emails from people in the either caught up in it or who had friends or family or relatives themselves and were worried about them. As well as the huge amounts of amateur video, of course, that came in. We weren't properly in place for that pilot project when July the 7th happened, and that completely changed the terms of the argument. And we became an absolutely crucial and central part of the BBC's news gathering operation, particularly for breaking news. The size of the audience, the size of the interest from the audience in the interactivity has grown massively. We get about roughly 1,200 pictures a week, videos a week. When there's a big event that everybody wants to talk about or share, there was some snow in February that basically closed down Britain. There was a lot of snow, and we ended up with 65,000 stills and videos in 5 days. It gives you an idea of the engagement the audience want to have with where there's a big event that everybody's talking about, and you provide that platform and that opportunity for them.
Yeah, it's 5:06 in the morning. Breaking news. President Obama has won the Nobel Peace Prize. Wow. Wow.
The word that just springs to mind is premature. I'm not saying that he won't deserve it. I'm just saying I don't think he does deserve it right now.
It was a valuable contribution to the overall news coverage. It took you away from talking heads and experts and politicians who, frankly, can be a bit dull sometimes. But the key thing is it real? Is the stuff that people are sending you what it says it is? Is it authentic? Is it genuine? This picture was run a long time ago by The Guardian and by Sky about a story in Dorset. There was a big fire on Dorset Heath. It's a real picture, but not of Dorset. Dorset is very flat. It's actually a picture of Montana, taken about 5 years previously. And these animals here, they're real animals. They're elk. But there are not many elk in Dorset. authentication. If you're using any kind of material, if it's pictures or even emails or eyewitness accounts, be sure it's real. How do you do that? Basic journalism. You talk to the person who sent the picture in. You ask them, what's the picture of? Where did you take it? Can you describe to me what you saw? Lots of detailed questions. You then cross-check it with content that you know is for real, insofar as agency copy you trust. Let's assume you trust agency copy. And then you cross-check it, and then you take an editorial judgment. Well, this is a chart that, if you can see it, the number of people who visit CNN, roughly, percentage of global internet users. So CNN is down here, remained broadly static, up a bit, down a bit. This is Facebook, gone up massively. Followed by this, the amount of time people spend on CNN and the amount of time people spend on Facebook. Again, CNN down here, Facebook up here. People are increasingly using social networking as their way of accessing the web. And if you're not in that arena, you miss out. A last example, this is Michael Jackson. There's the tweet, there's the spike on tweets when he died. And it's become a truism now. How did your 15-year-old son, daughter, cousin, nephew hear about Michael Jackson? They heard about it on Facebook. They didn't hear about it on the BBC News website. They went to the BBC News website afterwards to find out more about it, but they heard about it first on Facebook or Twitter. That's why you've got to be there. If a pier broke out in huge fire, 14% would take a photograph, only 6% would send it on to a news organisation, and 5% would contact a news organisation to tell them. So 95% of the people wouldn't bother ringing us up and telling us. You need to break down those barriers. The famous picture of the plane in the Hudson, Yanis Krum's picture in the Hudson, was posted to TwitPic within 6, 8, 7, 9 minutes or something of the plane actually landing in the Hudson. I think in the history of social media and social networking, that's going to be one of the key images. Now, inevitably, everything on Twitter evolves faster than you can say Twitter. It's fantastic. In the right hands, it's really powerful. In the wrong hands, it's disastrous. About a year ago, 18 months ago, we started joining in with a video chat room platform based in the States called Seismic, where the comments were all threaded comments, but they were all video comments. They were people in webcams. And the behaviour there was impeccable. People, because you could see them, because they gave their names, people behaved beautifully. Whereas on The Guardian's comment is free, when they first set it up, anonymous comments, say what, doesn't matter who you are, we'll take it. They behaved appallingly. It's not true that each and every one of us will be reporting. It's not true that the web is in itself frees up all this kind of democratic power and independence. And if you look at internet connectivity, I think mobiles in Africa, mobiles are probably more important than the internet. Connectivity in Africa, about 2%. Everybody's got a mobile. So, it's a lovely picture, but it's a lot more complicated than that in my view.